A member of Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban's inner circle has resigned in protest over what she has called his Nazi rhetoric. On Saturday, Orban spoke out against mixed-race Europeans, saying that countries with a large mixed-race population were no longer nations. Zsuzsa Hegedus, one of the PM's long-standing advisers, said that his words were, this is a quote, pure Nazi text in her resignation letter. Now, Orban responded by saying that his government had a zero-tolerance policy on racism and anti-Semitism. Well, for more analysis, we can bring in Kim Lane-Schepelin now, Professor of International Affairs at Princeton University. Welcome to the programme. Really great to have you with us this evening. I think it's fair to say that Orban has faced much criticism in recent years for his rhetoric, but there was the sense after that speech in Romania that it had gone one step further. And you've studied his speeches for years. How did it compare in your book?
Well, Orban used a word that he hasn't used before. So in the past, when he's talked about Hungary as a Christian nation and other peoples, he's used the word in Hungarian nemzet, which kind of means an ethnic group or an ethnic nation. And this last weekend, he switched and he used the word faj instead, which was the word which means race or sort of species. And it was the word that was used to refer to Jews as a separate species in the 1930s. And that's why people feel like he just crossed a line. It's the same in German, this word for race that's been retired, since it was used in that way in the 30s. There was a similar word in Hungarian that is now unretired.
Well, that's a fascinating insight and a really important precision to make here in this conversation. So let me ask you this. What does this mean for Hungary's uneasy relationship with the European Union right now? Because there is the potential for the EU to cut funding at a critical time, of course, we have to say, for the Hungarian economy, because ultimately we could also see European unity towards Ukraine at stake as well.
Exactly. So Orban, you have to remember what moment Orban sees himself as being in. There's a sword hanging over his head in which EU funds may be, within the next month, cut to Hungary, and he needs these funds because the country is going bankrupt. And so what he's trying to do now is to do two things. One is he's trying to explain to his own population, why the funds may be cut. And he's going to try to turn it into a culture war issue, that Europe is cutting funds to Hungary because they don't like Orban's politically incorrect views. But Orban is also about to go to the United States to appear jointly on a stage with Donald Trump. And he understands that Trump's supporters love this kind of dog whistle racism. And I think he's also appealing now to Trump's base. He assumes if Trump comes back to power in 2 years, that he'll have a powerful ally against the EU. And that's why I think he's using this rhetoric now.
So you're essentially saying that he's talking to Trump supporters, bearing in mind that Steve Bannon even once called Viktor Orban Trump before Trump even existed, essentially. But at the same time, he's also betting on closer ties with Russian President Vladimir Putin. And I wonder, why do you think that is? Aside from just the gas issue here, what's he betting on?
Well, actually, in the rest of his speech, he talked a lot about the gas issue, a lot about the energy issue. And he said the West is failing as a civilization because it no longer controls the resources it needs. Remember that when Orban won his election in April, his main campaign issue was going to be, and I think you're showing right now, Orban went to Moscow 3 weeks before the war broke out. He didn't know the war was going to break out, at least we don't think so. But he went there to get a deal on cheaper gas for Hungary. And he came back and he's saying to Hungarians, if we remain friends with Russia, we will have an unlimited supply of low-cost gas, and this will protect all of you as Hungarian consumers. So for him, it really is about the gas supply, about controlling resources, and that's why he feels like he needs to stay in good graces with Russia. Of course, as you know, Donald Trump also very much wanted to stay in good graces with Russia. So one of the ways to appeal to Trump, and he's going to speak, Orban's going to appear jointly with Trump in just a few weeks, is to also befriend Trump's friends.
Yeah, certainly a commonality there. Viktor Orban expected to speak at CPAC in Texas on the 4th of August. In the meantime, Kim Lane-Schepelin, Professor of International Affairs at Princeton University, really great to talk to you. Thanks so much for coming on.